The Clemson football program has learned from their other programs. They're in the transfer portal, and their roster for next year is looking much better. I'm going to break it down. They've added two guys who are going to really help the team improve. This is not they have added transfers before. That is technically true, but they were backup quarterbacks who never played and never were likely to play meaningful snaps. Both of the guys Clemson added, one should start, the other should be a worthwhile depth that should impact games. We'll start with Tristan Smith, the wide receiver. He comes over from Southeast Missouri State of the FCS, where they got him from JUCO. Watched a couple interviews. Seems like a good culture guy, well-spoken. He could play, 6'5", 76 catches, 934 yards with 6 touchdowns for Southeast Missouri State last year. Now, he's only got 1 year of eligibility remaining because he had spent 2 seasons at Hutchinson Community College in Kansas. So he's burned through 3. He'll be a guy who comes into Clemson for 1 year. But Clemson had 2 receivers leave through the portal, so this is necessary. You can't be thin at key positions, and Clemson is no longer going to allow themselves to be in that position. I think that is really encouraging. Let's take a look at the depth chart for Clemson. Let me pull it up. Let's look at the offense and just see how this impacts it. So wide receiver, Stillato's gone, right? You have Wesco and Moore as your key outside receivers, and then you have Turner, Cole Turner, and Adam Randall as backups, and Tristan Smith also in the mix as a backup. We don't know if there will be other departures. There very well could be, and this gives Clemson some insulation against that. If Randall were to leave, he's clearly not going to start during his career at Clemson. Clemson would be fine, right? Now they have Tristan Smith and Cole Turner as backups. Those guys are good in that backup role. And Adam Randall's a fine backup, just not as a starter. So Clemson should have either great or okay depth, regardless of what other players decide to do. And then in the slot, you're going to have Antonio Williams if he chooses to return and not go to the NFL, and Tyler Brown. So you should be okay there. Now, if Antonio Williams leaves, I think you're probably still feeling okay with Tyler Brown in the slot, but then you get a little thin at the slot, but at least you have more depth overall. So really a critical add to get Tristan Smith, same name as the former Clemson baseball player, to join. Real quick, just looking at the rest of the offense, you're going to have probably 4 offensive linemen come back. Tristan Lee at left tackle, center Ryan Linthicum, Walker Parks. He's going to use that extra COVID year, and Blake Miller. They're all likely to come back, and then you probably put Harris Sewell in Marcus Tate's spot at left guard. That's a pretty good offensive line, assuming they stay healthy. Bringstool's gone, but Pat Henry Olson, he was great. He really emerged and exceeded expectations. So you've got quite the group there. Klubnik expected to be back at quarterback. So the only potential hole here is a running back where Moff is gone. Jay Haynes tore his ACL. So when is he going to be 100%? Do you trust Keith Adams or Jarvis Green? I don't know. How much can you rely on David Iziamume, who will be a redshirt freshman last year, or Gideon Davidson, who will be a true freshman next year? Maybe they could trust them to come in and play huge snaps right away. I'm not sure. That would be the other spot. Barring other departures, that would be the only other spot on the offense that I think you'd consider. But look, we never said Dabo needed to add 10 transfers every year. We said, hey, when there's a glaring hole, please fix it. Please don't just think that this is totally unacceptable to use the portal as you lose key depth guys like a Stellato to the portal. This is exactly what we needed on offense. We just needed to plug that hole. Maybe running back 2, we'll see. But great encouraging move. And that encouraging move led to an even bigger move when they added Will Heldt from Purdue. He's 6'6", 265 defensive end. He was an all-academic Big Ten. We talk about culture, and a lot of people I got a lot of flack online the last couple of years saying Clemson is going to really struggle to compete for a national championship without using the portal. And that really proved to be true. A lot of the pushback I got was, well, it'll destroy the culture. Well, I don't think bringing in a guy like Tristan Smith, who wants to play at the highest level after going JUCO, FCS, and finally earning his way to the top echelon of the sport, I don't think that's going to ruin the culture. Adding all academic, all Big Ten academic, and on the field, all Big Ten honorable mention, that's not going to ruin the culture there. So Clemson's still being selective about culture fit. You could still do that in the portal. You just have to use the NIL and work through agents now. That's just how it works. Heldt is from Carmel, Indiana, which is a suburb of Indianapolis. He turns 20 in February. He'll have 2 years of eligibility remaining. Now we're finally into guys young enough that they weren't there in 2020, so they don't have a redshirt year in 2020, and then you get a double redshirt that year basically because you get the COVID waiver. So he's got 2 years left. As a freshman, he played 12 games, had 12 tackles. Last year as a sophomore, true sophomore, he obviously played more snaps. He had 726 defensive snaps last year. 56 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. He picked up a fumble, returned it for a touchdown, and he had 5 sacks. It's really impressive. He's strong against the run. I watched the highlights, a lot of really impressive plays. Frankly, Clemson defensive ends, you saw almost none of them outside of TJ Parker make plays in the backfield, stopping running quarterbacks, or more often like a running back coming to the outside. He's there stopping the run. That was a huge weakness for Clemson, stopping the run, particularly on the outside. Looks like it could get a lot better. It also allows Peter Woods to be full-time defensive tackle, where he's very, very elite. I mean, he's one of the best you'll have at defensive end. Not only did he get hurt, but he was good. He was very good even. He was not ultra elite. So you're putting him back. So you're massively upgrading at defensive tackle by getting him there. And then you're getting someone who's probably going to be about as good or almost as good as he was at defensive end. So huge get there. Just for comparison, so TJ Parker is outstanding. He had some migraines earlier in the year, so his full season stats might even understate how good he is. But he had 54 tackles, 19 tackles for loss with 11 sacks. Again, that comparison to Heldt is, 56 tackles, 10 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, right? So not quite TJ Parker level production, but you look at the guys who otherwise would have had to start. Clemson would have had to start either Jaheim Lawson or Kay Denhoff opposite Parker. Lawson had 26 tackles compared to 56. Lawson had 3.5 tackles for loss compared to 10. He had 1 sack compared to 5. Denhoff had 15 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. So way more production from Heldt. I mean, I'm sure he got more snaps, but I think just the eye test tells you Clemson's really improved their run defense and probably their pass rush too. So big get there. And, Clemson may not have done it if the roster didn't absolutely merit it, but they lost 2 kind of late decommits. Bryce Davis in the 2025 class was supposed to come in. Maybe he would have started perhaps, or at least got a lot of snaps. So this wouldn't have been necessary, but he flipped to Duke. So that left a hole. The hole was already kind of there this year. They had Adam Kisai, and he flipped to Minnesota. I had said Clemson really needed to add a defensive end, not necessarily to replace him, but to take that roster spot and start so you don't have to move Woods outside. They didn't do it. It was a weakness. It's not going to be a problem next year. Before we wrap, let's just look at how this defensive depth chart could look next year. You're going to move Peter Woods back inside. Maybe Cape Hart comes back. If not, you have Stephylan Green. Maybe they need a depth guy there, a defensive tackle. But you've got a superstar on the inside in Peter Woods. You got a superstar in TJ Parker. Now you have Will Heldt opposite him. Assuming no other departures, you have Lawson and Denhoff as depth, which is solid depth. You also have AJ Hoffler. And then at linebacker, Barrett Carter's gone. So you've got Wade Woodaz and Sammy Brown. If you're going to go 4-3, maybe you do need to bring in a guy. Otherwise, you're going to need to use Khalil Barnes as a nickel and have him kind of be more of a nickel than a safety. If you do that, that's fine. But you've lost RJ Mickens at safety, and you've lost Tyler Venables at safety. You've also lost Koval at safety nickel. So you need to either put Khalil Barnes at safety and grab a linebacker, or put him at nickel and grab a safety. That's probably the only hole left on this defense. Just to read it to round it out, you have Avion Terrell and Jaden Lucas and Ashton Hampton. It's a pretty good group of cornerbacks. You have Kylan Griffin and Khalil Barnes, we'll say, at safety, and then you have you don't really have anyone in nickel. Maybe Shelton Lewis, I guess, would be your nickel in that situation. So probably could add a guy, but even if they don't, this was the biggest hole left on the roster. Now it's maybe either safety or linebacker, maybe a running back. Again, Clemson doesn't need to add 10 guys in the portal every year. 3 or 4, right? And this is another year they need maybe 3 or 4, depending on if there's more departures. If so, they may need more than that. But this is huge. I think it really changes the projection for Clemson next season. not just that they added this one guy, but the fact that they are doing this, they are willing to go all in and be serious about winning at the highest level. I think this is a huge indicator. Should be really encouraging for donors who wondering, do I renew season tickets? Do I donate? Yes, you do. This Dabo is serious about winning at the highest level. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Really helps out. Really appreciate it. Leave your thoughts on these two additions in the comments. Go Tide.